huge news regarding the Alexander Isak saga. This long drawn out, protracted transfer saga that has been the story of the summer has just taken a sudden twist. And finally, Alexander Isak has spoken. Finally, Alexander Isak has told the world his side of the story. At least he has intimated that there is far more to this story than meets the eye. And for ages, anybody that has watched this channel regularly will know that I have been saying that Alexander Isak has been hung out to dry. I have heard some crazy takes regarding Alexander Isak, and I think that some people have been incredibly hostile, incredibly out of order. And Alexander Isak has effectively spoken today, and he has suggested that something has gone awry. And I guarantee you this much, this is so important. Alexander Isak, yes, he wants to leave Newcastle, but I don't think that we should. I think that when we explore why does Alexander Isak want to leave Newcastle, I think that it's completely understandable. What Newcastle will have offered him is pitiful. Newcastle's conduct over this transfer window has been embarrassing. Newcastle have let him down. And I guarantee you this, if Brian Mbomo, if Liam Delap, if João Pedro, if Mark Gahey were all already Newcastle United players, maybe Alexander Isak wouldn't be so desperate to get out of the club. The reason that he wants to leave is because the club have let him down, and people will constantly view it through a different lens. Alexander Isak wants to join Arne Slot. Alexander Isak wants to join the most exciting sporting project in world football. Of course he does, and he has spoken finally in what is a pithy and insightful statement. Alexander Isak has spoken, and this is the first time that he has spoken that I've known. He has kept a silence. He has kept a respectful silence. I think that he has conducted himself with nothing but decorum, and I feel like the way that people have spoken about him has been an utter outrage. But he has put on his Instagram account his version of events, and do you know what? I think that basically everything that he says is completely and utterly acceptable. The bottom line is, he says that change is in the best interests of everyone. He says when promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship cannot continue. That's where things are for me right now, and why change is in the best interests of everyone, not just myself. So there we have it. There we have it. Everything that I suggested had happened regarding the Alexander Isak saga has actually come true. Alexander Isak has been treated unfaithfully by Newcastle United. He is telling us there that an agreement has been made. He is telling us there that Newcastle United have reneged on a promise. They have reneged on a deal. He has told us explicitly that promises have been broken. Promises are broken and trust is lost. There would have been a conversation, and from this, I think we can deduce what's happened. Alexander Isak, probably at the beginning of last season, suggested to Newcastle that it could be his last year. If something were to happen, if a big club, a proper big club, a club with history, a club with heritage, a club with a great track record of winning silverware, a club with a track record of winning European silverware, the champions of England, potentially come knocking, then he will be allowed to leave. And the way that has been handled by everybody at Newcastle is shameful from them. Like, do you know what I've just find almost laughable? Almost laughable. Alexander Isak, when they were told that we've been told that he wasn't for sale. It's not that he wasn't for sale. It's that the price wasn't right. When we were told that he wasn't for sale, it's not that he wasn't for sale. It's that Newcastle United didn't get anyone else in. If Benjamin Sesko had chosen Newcastle over Manchester United, Alexander Isak would be a Liverpool player now. So, how desperate are they to keep Alexander Isak really? How much do they want to keep Alexander Isak really? The reason that they aren't letting him go is because they have failed. Who's failed who here? Alexander Isak played for that club with aplomb. He guided that club to their first piece of silverware for 70 years. They're a club that haven't won a league title for 100 years. 100 years without a league title for Newcastle United. And somehow they think they have the right to keep one of the best and most prodigious talents in European football. And I guarantee you this, if Benjamin Sesko had said, I'm going to sign for Newcastle United, Alexander Isak would have been gone by now. So the reason that they're keeping hold of Isak isn't because they desperately want him, isn't because they desperately need him, isn't because they desperately feel that they have this affinity. It's because they have failed and they don't have another striker that's fit for purpose. And when you hear Alexander Isak talk now, everybody always views it through the lens of the club. The club are seen as being the victims in this saga. Alexander Isak is being portrayed as this malevolent force, and it is totally and utterly untrue. Let me see what you're saying here in the comments. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. I think that this is a huge moment. This is actually the defining moment. This is the point of no return. This is it. Alexander Isak has basically told the world that he will not play for Newcastle United again. There is no way back. You know, other examples. We've seen players desperate to leave clubs. We've seen moments where Luka Modric said he wanted to leave, but he could stay at Tottenham. We've seen Harry Kane at the same club, ironically, say that he wanted to leave, but he could stay. This is the moment that Alexander Isak has made a stand. And do you know what I think? I think good luck to him. Obviously, he wants to leave Newcastle. Why are we pretending that Newcastle and Liverpool are comparable? Why are we pretending that Newcastle, I've said it before and I'll say it again, this myth that Newcastle United is some sort of like sleeping giant is the term that's constantly used, is so factually inaccurate. It is so wide of the mark. And that is why Brian Mbeumo didn't want to play for him. That is why Benjamin Sesko didn't want to play for him. That is why Liam Delap didn't want to play for him. That is why Mark Gahey didn't want to play for him. That is why James Trafford didn't want to play for him. Like, it isn't a myth, is it? That all of these players are constantly turning Newcastle United down. And I just can't understand how Newcastle have managed to portray themselves as being the sort of good guys in this relationship, because they are most certainly not. Newcastle United are not the good guys. They have failed Isak. They would have allowed Isak to leave, but they have not secured anyone else. And you know, when you talk about it, Newcastle, they're saying, oh, this is no longer an Eddie Howe matter. This is now a matter for the PIF. This is an Al Ramiyan matter. This is going to be taken on by Al Ramiyan himself. Why is nobody ever talking about Newcastle's failure to bring in a replacement? Alexander Isak, talking about him leaving now. We've been talking about this conservatively. Like, I'm not even going to say how long we've kind of known. I think that we've actually been talking about it for the best part of 6 months. But let's not say that. Let's say that how long have we realistically been discussing this? 8 weeks? 8 weeks? You know, through the season, there was a constant link with Arsenal, weren't there? But realistically, I would say 8 weeks. We have been talking about the potential of Alexander Isak going to Liverpool. 8 weeks. How many strikers have moved clubs in the last 8 weeks? Off the top of your head, you'd name 10, wouldn't you? Not one of them's gone to Newcastle. Why? Because Newcastle have failed to bring in a replacement. And now, because they failed, they're asking Alexander Isak to protect them. They're asking Alexander Isak to save their chestnuts out of the fire. Because now they don't have a centre forward. They've allowed Callum Wilson to go to West Ham, for crying out loud. Can I ask you a massive favour? Thank you for joining me to help me go through this. Could you please like this stream? And if you're new around here, do me a massive favour. Click subscribe. I would love to welcome you into this community. I love going live. I love having these conversations. And it's only fun when you're in here. So thank you so much. I want to dive into the chat now and see what you're all saying. I've just seen a reference to M. Gilbert Humperdinck. Please release me, let me go, because I don't love you anymore. You're absolutely right. That song could have been written for this very circumstance. Alexander Isak, desperado to get out of Newcastle United. And the fact that he has taken to social media proves how determined he is. Now let's take that for a moment. What does it say that he's that determined to get out of the club? What does it say that he's prepared to go on strike? On strike, he won't be being paid. What does it say that he's prepared to take to social media? And do you know what I think is really interesting in this? Has anybody heard Anthony Gordon speak about this at all? Anthony Gordon's take on this, fascinating. Anthony Gordon basically said, good luck to Alexander Isak. Anthony Gordon basically said, you can understand why he wants to move. He basically said, I hope that he gets the move, and I feel sorry for him if he doesn't, because I know what that pain feels like, because I, Anthony Gordon himself, was on the precipice of joining Liverpool. He was robbed of that opportunity. Anthony Gordon is a Scouser. He knows what Liverpool represents. He knows what the institution of Liverpool represents. And Alexander Isak is one of the best players in the world. Something else that we have to just completely dispel. You know, we immediately dispelled the myth busted about Newcastle being this sleeping giant massive football club, which is completely false. Do you know another myth that we need to immediately get rid of? The other myth that we need to immediately get rid of is Newcastle United made Alexander Isak. Without Newcastle United, Alexander Isak would be nowhere, would be no one. Alexander Isak is completely reliant and should be ever grateful for Newcastle United for giving him a platform to play football. Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. Newcastle United are the beneficiary of the brilliance of Alexander Isak. You cannot say that you make a player. There is absolutely no way that Alexander Isak wasn't destined for great things when he was at Sociedad. Like, that just is not true. I need to let you know as well, 93% of the chat here think that Alexander Isak will never play for Newcastle United again. That is unbelievable. There are also 3,000 of you watching. Would you please do me a massive favour? Could we nudge it to 1,000 likes? I don't think I've ever got 1,000 likes on a live stream before. This could be a PB. Will you please do me a massive favour and like the stream if you have not done so already? And like I say, if you haven't clicked subscribe, please do me a massive favour and join this community. I love what we're doing here. I love the chat. And thank you very much, by the way, to the Loner Lunchtime, who has been the first super chat of the night. Thank you very much. Honoured that you would grace us with your time. But I think it's really important now to explore this from Alexander Isak's point of view. Alexander Isak is a man that wants to succeed. He is an elite level athlete. Do you know how you get to being an elite level athlete? Do you know how you become Alexander Isak? Firstly, you have an abundance of skill in the way that he does. But secondly, it's a mental determination. He wants to get to the very top. He wants to test himself against the very best. He wants to play with the very best. He wants to play against the very best. Newcastle United are not offering him that. So why on earth would he stay? He has stayed. He's done his job. He's won them a trophy. On the day that he signed for Newcastle, if a Newcastle United fan was to be asked, I'll tell you what, you're going to have Alexander Isak for 3 years? He will end your 70-year trophy drought. 70 years. He will end it. He will be the man to end it. You think about his performance against Arsenal in the League Cup. He will end it. Good service. You'd call that incredible good service. You'd call that better than you could have ever possibly dreamed. And now he wants to spread his wings and play for the best team in the country. Now he wants to play for one of the best and most recognisable institutions in world football. Now he wants to join the most exciting sporting project in world football. Lewis here in the Super Chat says, if this derails Isak's career, at least he can become the manager, because he wrote 6 of the vaguest, most passive-aggressive paragraphs I've ever read. I don't think they're particularly vague, Lewis. I think they're actually I think they're polite, but targeted. I think that they're erudite, but aggressive. I think that he makes the point perfectly. I don't think that it's vague. I don't think that it's ambiguous. I think we know exactly what he's talking about, and I think we know exactly what he wants off the back of it. I think he's done it in a polite way. He's not swearing. I think Alexander Isak has actually conducted himself with decorum and politeness throughout this entire saga. He has been portrayed as a villain. He's been portrayed as somebody who is unprofessional. He's been portrayed as almost persona non grata. But I think he's conducted himself really well. And if you read the statement, read every word of the statement, he thanks his teammates. First and foremost, I want to thank my teammates. And he wants to thank everyone at Newcastle United who have supported him along the way. He's kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken. That's absolutely true. And they've painted him in the most negative light possible. That silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors. The reality is that promises were made, and the club has known my position for a long time. Crucial. Promises were made, and the club have known my position for a long time. So Alexander Isak hasn't dropped a bombshell at the end of the season. He hasn't immediately said, "Up tools, I'm out of here." This has been something that has been agreed, presumably on a gentleman's agreement with echoes of Charlie Kane and Harry Kane. This has been a gentleman's agreement for a while, and I would suggest for the season. So they've got to the end of the season, but they've qualified for the Champions League. They've won some silverware, and maybe there was an optimism within the PIF. Maybe there was an optimism from Al Ramian himself. Maybe there was an optimism from Eddie Howe that they could coerce and coax Alexander Isak to stay. But when Liverpool come knocking, you answer that door. Of course you answer that door, because that call may never come again. And with Alexander Isak being the consummate professional, being a player who is desperate and determined to test himself against the very best, it is fair to say that he wants to join this version of Liverpool. And who can blame him? Who would you rather play with? I genuinely ask you this question. Who would you rather play with? If you were a footballer, you have the skill, you have the talent of Alexander Isak. I'm talking to literally you. Let me ask you a question. Would you rather line up with Virgil van Dijk or Dan Burn? Seriously. Would you rather play with Virgil van Dijk or Dan Burn? The Gallagate, a historic end. Brilliant end. Loud, vociferous, aggressive, partisan, glorious. I love the Gallagate and what it represents. But would you rather hear your name sung by the Gallagate or the Cop? Seriously. What would you rather? Would you rather play with Anthony Gordon or would you rather play with Mohamed Salah? Would you rather be managed by Eddie Howe or would you rather be managed by Arne Slot? Would you rather follow in the footsteps of Fernando Torres, Luis Suarez, Steven Gerrard and Jamie Carragher? Or would you rather follow in the footsteps of Jean-Alain Boum Song, Alan Smith, Andy Carroll and line up with Anthony Gordon? I mean it with all due respect to both sets of every single question that I've presented there. The Jack Crabtree is in the super chat with an incredibly generous super chat here. Jack Crabtree says, can't wait to sing this at St James's. Can you hear them crying on the Tyne? Alexander Isak wants Merseyside, one chat with Arne Slot, and he said, wow. Yeah, I mean, I see the tune that you're doing to that as well. That's the Sandro Tonali song, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, when you sing that at St James's, soon, very soon, it will go. You're absolutely right, Jack Crabtree, and do me a favour. I love things like that. I love moments like that. I love those kind of songs. I love that kind of ingenuity, and Liverpool are fantastic for that. The variety of songs. You know, like one of my most like harrowing, but almost intoxicating moment ever in a football stadium was watching that entire cop bounce to the Fernando Torres song. Do you remember that? His armband proved he was a Red Torres. So they're bouncing. They knocked us out of the European Cup. I'm sitting there like, I was like, oh my God, get me out of here. But still, you're right. Send me a video of that, Jack Crabtree. Thank you very much for your time and your input. Jason Duplessis says, not sure what Newcastle would gain keeping him. That statement is basically telling him that he's done, time to move on. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I do think that what's happened is Newcastle United have wanted to move him on. They are keen to move him on, but they have not done their job. And this is the crucial point. They haven't done their job. What they should have done over the past year, because if we read between the lines of that statement, Alexander Isak has effectively told us that they have had a year's knowledge. So what should they have been doing in the last year? You know what they should have been doing? They should have been signing Mbomo. Do you know what they should have been doing? They should have been signing Liam Delap. This time last year, I'm talking literally 12 months ago, they have a scouting operation, don't they? They have a scouting team. Go and sign Liam Delap then. Do it in Christmas. You're still ahead of everyone else. You're still ahead of the curve. Go and get Sesko then. Why are you waiting until Manchester United are in the market? You've known that you need replenishments. This time last year, Manchester United thought Højlund was a boy. So you had time. And you have made a pig's ear of the situation. And now, because you haven't signed anyone to replace Alexander Isak, you are effectively keeping Alexander Isak to make your decision look better, to make your failure look better. Because if you don't sign anyone, you don't need to sign anyone if you keep Isak. So the fans will find that more palatable. But because you are now going to lose Isak, you've allowed Wilson to leave, you don't have a centre forward. And whose fault is that? You're pretending it's Alexander Isak's. And I just think he needs to leave. Another super chat has just landed here, by the way, from Colin McDonough. Colin McDonough, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your generosity. Colin McDonough says, gentlemen's agreement, in quotation marks, are wholly unforceable in contract law. Okay, let's read the whole thing. I'm going to come back to that. Gentlemen's agreements are wholly unforceable in contract law. Isak has a contract with Newcastle United and he's breaching that contract with his current antics. So legally speaking, on the facts, Alexander Isak is in the wrong. Alexander Isak is in the wrong if we view this through one lens. Alexander Isak is in the wrong, and you are totally right. Gentlemen's agreements mean nothing. We were very harsh, we were very stern, and we were very cynical about Harry Kane's gentleman's agreement with Daniel Levy. So I think that people need to learn from that. And Alexander Isak should not have embarked on a gentleman's agreement. But equally, when you do have a gentleman's agreement, when you are sitting across from someone and they shake your hand and they look you in the eye and they say to you, they give you their word, that must mean something. Your word is your bond. Your handshake counts. When somebody looks you in the eyes and gives you their word, why on earth shouldn't you believe them? Okay, with hindsight, I do understand it. With hindsight, you go, of course, you need it in contracts or whatever. But on some level, Alexander Isak would have had a good relationship with the PIF. He would have said, after we've won silverware, after I've got you into the Champions League, if a big club, a serious club, come calling for me, I would like to explore the opportunity of moving. They would have said yes. He has taken them at their word. Now, you can't call someone foolish for being trustworthy. You can't call someone foolish for taking someone at their word. But I would also say it's wholly understandable, isn't it? It is entirely understandable. If somebody were to tell me that they're going to do something, I believe them. Especially if they're a friend. Especially if you have a working relationship. And Alexander Isak would have had 2 years prior relationship with these people. And it feels like they've now reneged on what they said. So, but you are right. Look, in contract law, he is now, he's effectively breaking his contract because he is not playing for Newcastle United. He's not an option for Newcastle United. And yes, he's breaching that. Legally speaking, you could be onto something. But what about morally speaking? What about who has the moral high ground here? Who has the moral victory? Alexander Isak, who won silverware for the club, who has gone on to take the club into the Champions League and has ended a 70-year trophy drought and has believed someone, and all he's doing now is trying to get out of the club. And, how can we blame him? Of course he wants to play for Liverpool. What kind of man, and Colin, I direct this directly at you, what kind of person would Alexander Isak be if he didn't like the idea of testing himself at Liverpool? Say he didn't want this deal. Say he said no. Would we not be mocking him? I feel like we're quite snide to players who... I feel like we're often quite snide to players who don't force their way out of the club. I don't think we're kind to Harry Kane. If Harry Kane had signed for Man City, he would have won a treble. If Harry Kane had signed for Man City, he would have done that Haaland number. If Harry Kane signed for Man City, he would have won a Ballon d'Or. I think that we call Harry Kane an idiot for having his brother as manager and not forcing his way out of the club. Harry Kane should have forced his way out of Tottenham. He should have got an agent who was a terrier to get him out of that deal. I actually admire Alexander Isak doing everything that he can to get to Liverpool. Because, let's face it, these opportunities don't come along often. And if Alexander Isak doesn't get the move to Liverpool now, he may never get it. Opportunity for a footballer, a top-tier footballer, comes along what? You got 10 years max? Probably less than that at the top, actually. If he doesn't get the move to Liverpool now, he may never get it. So I do understand it, Colin, I really do. Alan Dawson in the chat here says, thank you very much for your super chat, Alan. He says, why do Newcastle think this is new? Trent did it to us, Coutinho down tools, Torres went to the blue team. Suarez, the list goes on. It's happened for years and will always go on. Yeah, I mean, I do think that there's an element of people being a little bit precious about this. I think when it happens to you, it's very upsetting. But I also think that anybody that is trying to contrast the Alexander Isak situation with the Trent Alexander-Arnold situation, they are wholly apart. They are completely separate. I call Trent Alexander-Arnold a Judas, and I stand by that. People will say that's harsh. I know that a lot of people in the chat now won't like that language being used, but I stand by every word. Trent Alexander-Arnold, or in fact, forget that. Trent Alexander Iscariot. Trent Alexander Iscariot, and I stand by it, and let me tell you why. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a Scouser. Alexander Isak is not a Geordie. Trent Alexander-Arnold plays for the best team in the country. Alexander Isak does not play for the best team in the country. Trent Alexander-Arnold could have gone on to become the record appearance holder for Liverpool, breaking Jamie Carragher's incredibly impressive record. That does not apply to Alexander Isak. He could have been the next club captain at Liverpool, a boyhood club captain. That wouldn't mean as much to Alexander Isak, and most crucially, you're joining the champions. Trent Alexander-Arnold forced his way out of the best team in England to join the second best team in Spain. Alexander Isak is forcing his team out of the fifth best team, a team that has won one title 100 years ago. They haven't won a league title for 100 years. I'm being really serious here. You know, when you talk about Newcastle as some sort of sleeping giant, they're not the same thing. And yeah, players want to move. Players want to test themselves against the very best. Players have loyalties and whatever else. But I cannot believe it. I really cannot believe it that there is ever a comparison between Trent Alexander-Arnold and Alexander Isak. Reese K in the super chat here says, help them to their first title in 72 years. How are Newcastle fans screaming? Judas. How are Newcastle fans screaming? Judas like it's Sol Campbell. It doesn't make any sense to me, Reese. It really does not make any sense to me at all. The AM25 says, we can hear them crying on the tyne. Isak's our number 9. I mean, you're going to have a lot of fun with this. You just know that Liverpool are going to embrace this. It's going to be so funny. You know the banners. You know when they talk about, like, they go, my bird's beautiful, and they've got the liver bird there and all that. Like, they are going to have banner after banner about this. They're going to have song after song about this. Going to St James's Park as a Scouser is going to be fantastic. It's going to be fantastic because there is no doubt in my mind now that he will become a Liverpool player. Ashcroft 316 says, can we get some booze and snacks hanging by? Oh yeah, I know. I do need to get that. The pub snacks. I'll get some. I'll get some scampi and all that. Thank you very much, Ashcroft. James Pinky in the super chat says, Newcastle United's scouting network is Eddie Howe's nephew. I mean, it's been appalling. And I feel like what they're trying to do is mirror the problems. What they're trying to do is mask their ineptitude, the board's ineptitude of finding a replacement for Alexander Isak. They're trying to almost create a facade that they've done nothing wrong by blaming Alexander Isak. Like, why did they not sign Ekitike? Why? Because basically Liverpool are too good, too big, too strong. They're champions. They're behaving like the champions. They're throwing their weight around, and that's what champions do. Why did they not sign Ekitike, right? Why did they not sign Liam Delap? Why did they not sign João Pedro? Why did they not sign Brian Mbeumo? Why did they not sign Benjamin Sesko? How many times are Newcastle going to have the opportunity to sign a player to replace Alexander Isak, fail in signing that player, and then somehow pretend that Alexander Isak needs to stay, or they want him to stay? They were clearly ready to sell Alexander Isak, obviously, because if Benjamin Sesko had chosen Newcastle over Man United, they would have sold Alexander Isak. He'd be in a Liverpool kit by now. He could have played against Bournemouth. Because what they would have done is they would have sold Alexander Isak. They would have bought in Benjamin Sesko. They would have pretended that's what they wanted. But because Benjamin Sesko chose Manchester United instead of them, because Benjamin Sesko looked at the project at Newcastle and went, nah, not for me, mate. They're now going, oh, we need Isak. We're not letting you leave. But you were ready to sign him. And I'll tell you what's driving me mad. You heard this. This is one that really drives me mad. You know when people go, or it's Newcastle fans when I say people, Newcastle fans and people sympathetic to Newcastle, you know when they say this, they go, they were signing Benjamin Sesko to play with Alexander Isak. I'm like, are you a dummy? Are you a big dunce? Are you that dumb? Do you honestly believe that Benjamin Sesko was going to play through the middle while Alexander Isak, the best striker in the league, plays out wide? Yeah, I know what we're going to do. We're going to accommodate Benjamin Sesko through the middle and put our best player out on a wing. That's what I've been hearing. You know, and I'm just like, I can't talk to you anymore. You utter dunce. And this is the way that it's gone. And it's sent people mad. Like, I've seen some mad chat, like from a Newcastle angle, mad. And you're just like, mate, what are you on about? I am loving this live, by the way. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. Will you do me a massive favour? If you're enjoying it even a little bit, will you please click subscribe? I would love to welcome you into this community. I would love for you to be part of what we're doing here. I'm going to be going live loads. So please do consider joining it. And also, if you do me a massive favour, could you like this stream? You never know. We could even hit 2,000 likes on a stream, which would be a PB. I've never hit anything like that before. So if you would be so kind, I would really appreciate it. Libby Malone, cool name, Libby Malone, says, hi, Rory. Hope you and your family are well. They're all very well, mate. Thank you very much. For the enormous amount of money to bid, would his behaviour and injury record concern you being worth the risk? No, absolutely not. His injury record, I think, is fine. Footballers get injured. Right, he wouldn't need to be overplayed at Liverpool. The reason that Liverpool have signed Ekitike so that there isn't a desperation or a reliance on anyone. So no, the injury record I wouldn't be concerned about at all. The attitude, I'm going to tell you the truth here, Libby. The attitude is good. He is trying to test himself against the very best and play with the very best. He wants to be part of the most exciting sporting project in world football. Look at what FSG have done this summer. Potentially at least, breaking their transfer record not once but twice in the same summer. Going for the jugular. What they're trying to do at Liverpool now, whether they succeed or not isn't the point. What Liverpool are trying to do is not win the league. They're trying to create dynasty. They're trying to create legacy. You know when Liverpool had their era, that amazing team. Think of the spine of that amazing Liverpool team. Ray Clements, Alan Hansen, Graham Souness, Kenny Dalglish, Ian Rush. That spine that won so much, FA Cup, League, Europe, everything, right? Think of that spine. Think about what that spine was. This transfer window and everything that's going on at Liverpool at the moment is trying to replicate that. Not player for player. I'm just saying that what they're trying to do is create a dynasty to mirror the previous dynasty. Because this kind of window isn't about winning the league, retaining the league. And Liverpool do need to retain the league. Remember, despite being the most glittering club in terms of silverware in the country, Liverpool haven't retained a league title for 40 years, 39 years. They haven't retained a league title for 39 years. So they really want to do that. They really need to do that. But this window isn't about retaining a league. They were already the best team in the league. They won the league by 10 points. This is about creating something beyond that. This is about seeing an iconic photo with a Hungarian flag of Kirkez and Szoboszlai lifting the European Cup in their hometown of Budapest. And they're retaining that. Remember, retaining a Premier League title isn't easy. Arsene Wenger, a great, never retained it. Carlo Ancelotti never retained it. Antonio Conte never retained it. It isn't easy to retain a league title. So they are desperately trying to do that. Welcome Vikram Sridhar into the members scheme. Thank you very much. I'm delighted. There's a load of new content up there for your eyes only. I hope that you enjoy it, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. There's a name that I can't read, but it says, respect from New Zealand. What's happening, sir? Honoured. We've gone international. We're in the Southern Hemisphere. The Kiwis. What's happening, mate? Thank you very much for tuning in. Lewis Merritt says, Ekitike, Salah, Isak. Best front three in the league. Ekitike, Isak, Salah is the best front three in the league. Yeah, but do you know what? I think you could easily argue that Liverpool's attack, if we include Florian Wirtz into that, Liverpool's attack is the best attack in the league anyway, which is why what I'm saying here, Lewis, if you agree with me, I don't think this move is about winning the league next year. I think Liverpool are the best team in the league already. I think Liverpool are capable of winning the league already. This isn't about that. This is about so much more than that. Signing Isak isn't trying to retain the league or create the best centre-forward options in the league, forward options in the league for the manager. On some definition, they already have that. They have... Mohamed Salah is the most guaranteed, brilliant guarantee goal scorer, like non-jeopardy, best season he ever had last year off the back of the brilliant, like icon. And you know what he's like? He will be eyeing up Ian Rush's untouchable record. He will be eyeing up. You know, I think he has already now gone level with Andy Cole, hasn't he? I mean, like, there's just no stopping this guy. So they've already got him. You've already got Florian Wirtz, who I think is a genius. Ekitike looks like he is a duck to water in Premier League football. And there's goals galore in the team. You know, there's other options for goals, whoever that ends up being. So I think there's enough goals in the team already to win the league, but it isn't about that. This is about so much more than that. Pasirala, what's happening, mate? I hope you're well in the super chat. Pasirala says, hi, Rory, it's been a while. I hope you're all right. I'm a Liverpool fan. A successful season for us is the Premier League or the Champions League, minimum a trophy. What do you think? Yeah, I think you need to win I think there are certain clubs where winning the domestic league is always a success. It's always the ambition. Liverpool, it's always the ambition. Man City, it's always the ambition. There was a time when it was always the ambition at Chelsea. Do Liverpool need something like that for it to be a good... What, if Liverpool were to end the season trophyless? Yeah, I think it would be a disaster, to be totally honest with you, Pasarala, because I think they're the best team in the country. So something would have gone chronically wrong if they end the season trophyless, because I think they are the best team in the country. I think they have a genius manager, and it's an institution that's built for winning silverware. Like, they don't have to change the culture. The culture has always been silverware success. It's the most decorated institution in British football. English football, not British football. Therefore, they need to win the league. Yeah, they need to win. Yeah, they do need to win the league. Any season where you win the league is a great season, though. I don't think they need to win anything other than the league. If they marry it up with something else, it makes it amazing. But no, I think that they are capable of doing something spectacular this year. Do you know what my prediction was? And I stand by it. I think Liverpool do something magnificent this year. I don't know what that is. They could go, I don't know if it will be an unbeaten season or they'll become centurions themselves, something like that. But I think this Liverpool team, with Arne Slot at the helm, are on the precipice of something truly great. I can see something like really spectacular going on for them. The GGMU in the super chat here says, I massively respect Isac. Finally! And GGMU, I think it's fair to assume that he's a Manchester United fan. He said, the opening gambit of his super chat says, I massively respect Alexander Isak. You get one life, one career, be selfish, become a great. I can't say, mate, you're more articulate than me. You're cleverer than me. Like, I can't phrase it as well as that. You're absolutely right. Who is this erudite Manchester United fan? You are absolutely right, sir. You have one life, one career, be selfish, become a great. Nobody thanks you. People laugh at you for hanging about a club that can't win silverware. People will mock you for hanging about a club that can't win silverware. People are so cynical about Harry Kane. You know, Harry Kane, if he'd signed for Man City, he would have won a treble and a Ballon d'Or. Instead of that, he's staying at Tottenham, scoring 1 billion goals for Tottenham. None of them mattered for anything. Think of all of those iconic goals he scored for Tottenham. All of them. The mask, you know, when he's wearing the mask. The goal that he scored from the corner flag against Arsenal. Counted for what? Diddly squat. Counted for nothing. What was the point? Become a great. You've got one life. As the GGMU says, you've got one career, one life. Be selfish and become a great. I think Kane should have gone to Madrid to replace Ronaldo in 2018. Yeah, or certainly should have gone to Man City when Guardiola was eyeing him up. Certainly. And I guarantee you this. Harry Kane is gutted that he didn't. He signed that contract that his brother put in front of him. And history will not respect Harry Kane in the way that it should. The same cannot happen to Alexander Isak. And to be fair to Alexander Isak, he isn't allowing it to happen. The foolish snippet says, when no one is joining you, dilap ekatike. You can't let go of your only prized possession, even if it means breaking promises. All of us would do the same in life. No, do you know what? Foolish snippets. There's something, don't get me wrong, there is something from Newcastle. I understand why Newcastle are trying to keep hold of him. I understand that. But I also understand why we're looking at it about Alexander Isak's motivation. Alexander Isak is trying to force his way out of the club. And I'm saying, good luck to him, fair play to him. He has no option to do that. Newcastle trying to hold on to him now out of desperation because they have totally and utterly flopped him. They've totally and utterly flopped in trying to sign player after player after player. I understand their desperation. I think they're wrong, but I understand their desperation. Of course I do. But we're looking at it through the lens of Alexander Isak. Alexander Isak has put out a statement where he says that he is done with Newcastle. He says that promises have been broken, trust is lost, the relationship can't continue. That's where things are for me right now and why change is in the best interests of everyone, not just myself. Change is in the best interests of everyone. Alexander Isak is gone. He is saying to the world that he will not play for Liverpool again. And do you know what? Who can possibly blame him? But foolish snippets, from Newcastle's perspective, they've been embarrassed. They've let themselves down. They let everyone down. They've been turned down left, right and centre. They've gone mad. So, like, the fans have gone mad. Yeah. I understand now why they're desperate to hold on to him. But you can also understand why Alexander Isak is now more desperate to get away than ever before. He would thought that they were going to sign Delap Ekatike. And who's he lined up with? Who have they signed? Aaron bloody Ramsdale. How would you feel? How would you feel if you were the best centre-forward in the world? How would you feel if you were the best centre-forward in the Premier League? The best club in the country want to sign you. Mohamed Salah wants you as a teammate, and Arne Slot, one of the most visionary managers in world football, wants you as his fulcrum. How would you feel if the club that you were at said no and then tried to appease you by signing? Okay, who have they signed? You know, Alexander Isak goes, okay, look, we're going to make some big name signings. Alexander Isak goes, I want to go. They go, no, don't go. We're going to make some big name signings. All right, who are you going to sign? Well, we're going to try and sign a few bits. Okay, don't tell me about who you didn't get. Tell me about who you got. Okay, I'll tell you who we got. We got Anthony Elanga. He's Swedish, so that should be good for you. Yeah, all right. He's a good player, but okay. Anyone else? Yeah. Who? Really good player. Signing from Arsenal. He played for Arsenal. He played for Arsenal in the Champions League. You signed Declan Rice? No, we didn't get Declan Rice. We wanted him. We didn't get. You signed Saliba? No, we didn't get him either. You signed. You did not sign Bukayo Saka. No, we didn't sign Bukayo Saka. Who did you sign? We signed Aaron Ramsdale. Bruv, I'm gone. I'm out. I'm never talking to you again. I never want to see your face again. Like, you won't see my ass for dust. Don't turn around now. I'm gone because this is well and truly over. Don't you think? Like, that's basically how the conversation would have gone. I need to say now a huge thank you to Ahmed Abdel Basit, who is in the Super Chat, has said, Rory, doesn't matter what he was promised, he has a contractual agreement. Don't get these players going on social media nowadays to mope. A Manchester United fan speaking here who banters Newcastle fans. Ahmed, you're right, he shouldn't have signed the contract. Harry Kane shouldn't have signed the contract. But don't you now think, now you've seen a case study for this, don't you think that when Harry Kane signed the contract that was put in front of him by his brother, he made a mistake? And don't you think that he should have done everything to get out of that? So his brother wasn't capable of getting him out of it. Don't you think he should have gone and signed up with, one of those like ruthless agents? Go and pal up with Kia Jarabchian and go to Kia. Kia, I've signed a contract. I've made a disastrous move and I'm terrified that I'm going to waste my career at Tottenham and win nothing. Please get me out of this deal. And do you know what Kia Jarabchian, who is a genius agent and a terrier, do you know what he would have done? Kia Jarabchian would have somehow, some way, got Harry Kane that move. He would have made himself 20 million quid in the process, but he would have got that move. Instead of that, Harry Kane stayed with his brother out of loyalty. Who's the idiot? Who's the idiot? Kane for staying or Isak for trying to leave? I'm afraid it's Kane. Interesting take, though, Ahmed. I do appreciate it. Duarte Garcia is in the chat and he says, people demand loyalty from a player to the club. But what about the other way around? Clubs are more than happy to sell players even when they want to stay. Yeah, that's also true. I mean, that is also true. But the thing is, we, as fans, we're always going to be loyal, aren't we, to the club? We love the club. We don't love the player. We will always prioritise the club. Although apparently there is a world where that's changing. The GGMU is back in the chat and has said, Newcastle United have to be ahead of the curve because of who they are. Us being Manchester United will always get us Cunha and Mbemo and Sesko ahead of them. Isak has to go. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You know when times and feelings were high at Newcastle United? You know when they were moving and they were moving fast? They had a lot of traction. They beat Arsenal home and away in the League Cup. They then beat Liverpool in the League Cup final. They won silverware. They qualified for the Champions League. You know when the euphoria was high, when things were going well? Go and sign Liam Delap then. Go and sign Brian Mbeumo then. Go and sign Mark Gahey then. Why are you waiting? What are you waiting for? And apparently, if Alexander Isak is to be believed, and why would he be lying? If Alexander Isak is to be believed, Alexander Isak had told them then. Alexander Isak had told them then that he was going to leave. So they've had notice, and they have decided to not act on that notice. Very, very interesting. But I do agree with you. Manchester United, you know when people were going, I can't understand why Sesko has gone to Man United instead of staying at Newcastle. As soon as somebody says that to me, I literally just stop talking to them. I literally don't even answer. I think that you, as a person, if you believe that Newcastle are this super giant club, sleeping giant, ready to like launch itself into the European Cup and all that, if you believe that's who Newcastle are, do you know what I do? I believe that you aren't even worthy of grammar and punctuation. I don't even talk to you. I just literally look at you like this. And then I walk off. I don't even answer. Somebody says to me, honestly, Newcastle United are a team in the Champions League. Why would Mbeumo rather play for Man United when Newcastle, when they're a sleeping giant, and Eddie Howe's a great manager, and they could potentially do really big things in the Champions League. They won a trophy. Why would you rather go to Man United? I just go like that. It's like Alexander Isak. People genuinely, there are a very small percentage of people that honestly believe that Alexander Isak should stay at Newcastle. It's a better sporting project for him. They build a team around him. In a World Cup year, he's guaranteed football and all that. It is utter drivel, utter nonsense. The silent streams in the chat here says, Rory, Liverpool fan here, can't stand why people don't say back to Isak haters that he was promised more money, signings. He has every right to leave. You're absolutely right. He has every right to leave. Why? Also, it's not like he's trying to leave to go and join. Like, even, you know, if he was going to try and join, say he was going to Arsenal. Like, Arsenal are massive. No, Arsenal would make sense, actually. I'm trying to think of a club. Like, say he was going to go to, I can't even think, because where would it make sense for him to go? Or not make, where would it make sense for him to stay at Newcastle? Not many places. But for him to now turn down Liverpool, it would actually mean he was insane. We'd have to talk about him going to Broadmoor. You know, if he went, I'm not going to sign for Liverpool. I don't want to play with Arne Slot. I don't recognise the greatness of the institution of Liverpool Football Club. I do not want a liver bird upon my chest. I do not want to be managed by one of the most exciting managers in world football in Arne Slot. I do not want to play with an icon like Mohamed Salah. I do not want to play with an icon like Virgil van Dijk. I don't like the idea of linking up with Florian Wirtz. I want to play with Aaron Ramsdale. You'd have to send him to Broadmoor. You'd be like, mate, what? How can you not want the Liverpool move? How can you not do everything within your power to join the most exciting sporting project in world football? Everything that you are is determined by that move. I just don't get it. John Lee David Blackshaw says, I like Newcastle and its part and I like Newcastle and its part plays in great league runs. I'm a Liverpool fan and appreciate you, Rory. No, number 20, you never walk alone. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, Newcastle are a great club, but they just, as an institution, they're incomparable to Liverpool, is the point. Newcastle are what? The top 10, 15 biggest clubs in the country. That's a big club. They're the top 15 clubs in the country. I agree. But what they are not is anything like Liverpool. Liverpool and Newcastle United, they don't play the same sport. They're not comparable beings. It would be like me going, who do you reckon is a bigger club? Who do you reckon is a bigger club? Chelsea or Fulham? It's like, what are you on about? What are you talking about? It's not a conversation, is it? It's just not even a thing. Chelsea or West Ham? It's just not a conversation. Who's a bigger club? Newcastle or Liverpool? Okay, great. I don't want to talk to you anymore because you don't know what day it is. So no, it doesn't make sense. Foolish Snippets in the super chat here. Thank you very much to everybody for tuning into this, by the way. This has been an honour. Can I ask you, would you please click subscribe right now if you haven't yet subscribed? It would be my honour to welcome you into this community. I'm going to be going live loads. I love these discussions. I love the fact that you've taken time out of your very precious Tuesday nights to join me for this chat. Thank you very much to every single one of you for joining. And please do click subscribe. Back into the super chat. It's Foolish Snippets says, very player when signed contract, looks in the eye, promised to take the club to the next level. Who takes a pay cut when they flop? Think the club whining on social media. Yeah, I agree, I think. The Vikram Sridhar says, Rory, in your opinion, how much is Isak worth? One Newcastle fan said 200 million, much love from Michigan. Whoa, the Detroit, the Motor City. Vikram, what's happening, mate? Love watching you. You're really kind, mate, and I appreciate that. How much is he worth realistically? What do I think should happen? I think Newcastle now, because of the lack of quality that they've got in their squad and because of the holes that they've got in their squad, they should look at they should look at their own squad and they should highlight where it's gone wrong, and then they should look at Liverpool and see the players that are surplus to requirements. Do you know who I think they should have got? This is what they should have done early in the window. They should have gone, look, you want Isak, we want Elliott and Darwin Núñez and some money. That's what they should have done. They've got Darwin Núñez, a good player. I don't understand why people don't rate him. They should have got Darwin Núñez, they should have got Harvey Elliott, and they should have got some money. Now, you've got to look at the squad. Who's available? Maybe still Harvey Elliott, but does Harvey Elliott want to go there? Would Curtis Jones be available? I think Curtis Jones is a wicked footballer, you know. A brilliant footballer. But I don't know if he'd want to go there. So maybe it's down to money. And I don't think he's worth less, particularly now he's on strike and he said he's not going to play for them. Suddenly it becomes very much a buyer's market because you have a commodity that doesn't want to be there. Therefore, he is obviously for sale. I think it probably 110, something like that. 115. I don't think it needs to go much higher than that. That would be my take on it, Vikram. Quad Bot says, trust is so much more important than money when you have loads of money, obviously. Yeah, I think trust should be highly regarded here. Like, you know what people are saying, and people have been quite harsh. People have been saying in the chat, very foolish of Alexander Isak to have a gentleman's agreement. And I know with hindsight it is. But if you are in a room with a friend, somebody who you trust, somebody who you've worked with, somebody who you have a good professional relationship with, and they shake your hand and they look you in the eye and they tell you that their word is their bond, how can you possibly preempt that they're going to lie to you? How can you possibly, I know what the argument is. The argument is, in business, you get it written down. In business, there are no friends. In business, you do X, Y, and Z. I get it. But I just don't think that you can realistically say to anyone in any situation, oh, maybe you can. I don't know. Maybe this is a mistake Alexander Isak made. I mean, it is clearly a mistake he made. But what I'm saying is I do understand it from his point of view. I do understand it from his perspective that he's saying, I had a relationship with these people. They gave me their word. What more could I possibly need? Like, I don't know. You know, when people get married, don't they? They don't necessarily have a prenup because the person they marry, they love and they trust. Then the marriage goes wrong. Everything goes wrong. And they go, you didn't get a prenup. You're now in trouble. And you're like, okay, I couldn't have possibly predicted that this would have gone that way. I kind of see it from Isak's point of view. I really do. But look, you're obviously correct. He should have got it done. Lethan says, yes, Rory, say how it is. Haven't watched you since Stump Peg stumped you on the salad take. I'm trying to get her on here. I actually texted her today to try and get her on here to see if she fancies it. Although I'll have to come prepared. I will have to come prepared. No, I know. She was good. I didn't know what to do either. Sometimes that happens, and that's why I love going live. That's why I love these exchanges. I love it when you can argue with me. You give me your words. You tell me your opinion. I'll give you mine. And sometimes I'll have to go like this, like I did against Stump Peg on the overlap. Because you done me. And you go, right, that's a 10-8 round to you. You beat me. Sometimes I'd hope to think that when we debate, I'll win. But this is the beauty of football. This is what it's about. It's about the to and fro. It's about the ebb and flow. It's about the back and forth, the natural sway of opinion and conversation. This is why I love football so much, because we can flex our analytical muscle and get into it. And look, don't get me wrong, Lethan. She battered me that day, no doubt. What can you do? You can't win them all, man. You can't win them all. I had a bad one with Jamie Carragher as well on there. He said something. He pulled out a stat about the Partizan Belgrade team that won the European Cup in I think the final was in Bari, the year Partizan Belgrade won it. And he said something to me, and I was just like, mate, I don't know who played for Partizan Belgrade. I don't know. I don't know. Geezer's got one of those minds, like Jamie Carragher's brain, football brain. I can't cope. I don't know what you're talking about. So again, on the overlap, Jamie Carragher said it, and I just went, but it happens, it does happen. Lethan, thank you very much. Steo in the super chat here says, there's no difference in the Isak situation and what Gyökeres did to Sporting. Would argue jump from Sporting to Arsenal is smaller than Newcastle. I'd agree, Steo. Bang on. Absolutely bang on. And do you know who else? I'm not hearing Newcastle fans furious with Wissa. Are you? Newcastle fans furious with Wissa? Wissa has deleted all of his Brentford stuff. He is doing everything that he can to get out. He has removed any reference to Brentford on all his social media. So I imagine that Newcastle United fans wouldn't want a player like that anywhere near their club, would they? They'll be calling him a Judas. They will really, really dislike him. So I think that that is how it's going. I think that Wissa wants to go to Newcastle because there is a natural food chain, and everything that I've said about Liverpool to Newcastle is applicable, with Newcastle being the juggernaut and Brentford being the nobodies. Utter nobodies. Of course Wissa wants to play for Newcastle. Of course he wants to play at the Gallagate instead of the Stretford End, instead of the G-Tech. Of course he does. So it is what it is. But no, I've never really seen a reaction like this from anyone. It's gone mad, hasn't it? Have you seen some of the reactions around regarding some of this from some Newcastle fans? It's wild stuff. Really, really wild. Where am I up to in the super chat? I am up to Steo, there's no difference in the situation. I completely agree. The GGMU says, think of it this way. How many of us dream of being a professional footballer, let alone one of Isak's calibre? If you had a choice to be a bona fide football great or play with Aaron Ramsdale, what are you doing? Yeah, mate, I don't think it's a debate. I absolutely agree with you. You have the opportunity to go into Liverpool, this version of Liverpool, this iteration of Liverpool. It's unlike anything that we've ever really known. Liverpool breaking their transfer record twice in the same summer. On a slot winning the league, desperate to retain it. Keeping hold of their two marquee players, their two greats. Bringing in players like Florian Wirtz. And what's next? What's next? Of course he wants to be part of it. Of course he wants to play with Ekatike. Yeah, I really don't get it. Let me go back into the super chat here. Thank you so much to everybody for getting involved. Ibrahim Mustafa, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Duarte Garcia says, if you had to bet your house on it, where will Isac play by the end of the window? I am 99% sure, Duarte, that Alexander Isak plays for Liverpool by the end of this window. He's doing everything within his power, and basically, they cannot keep him. And fair play to him, and good luck to him. That's what I say. Senabe says, Henry had to do something similar at Juventus. Yeah, this is football. It's a tale as old as time. True as it may be, it really is. Owen says, Liverpool have made over 250 million quid in sales, should cover Isak, Guehi and Fofana. Newcastle have to grow up and let him go. 150 million is an arrogant demand. I absolutely agree. He isn't worth 150 million. Nobody is worth 150 million. So I don't think that he will go for that. But also, Newcastle United have boxed themselves into a corner now because they now have no option but to sell. So I am convinced that he will leave. And ultimately, he will leave for about... we spoke about this moments ago, and I said about 110 million. But what I think Newcastle should really do is almost forget the money. Don't worry about the money. Talk to Newcastle about signing, Andy Robertson. Bring him into Newcastle. He'd be a great player to have around the camp. Great player to have in the Champions League for them. Talk to them about signing Harvey Elliott, who is, let's face it, a wonderful little player. An absolutely brilliant player, Harvey Elliott. Talk to them about signing the players that are deemed not good enough for Liverpool, but would go into Newcastle and elevate the standards ridiculously. Let me go back into the super chat here. This is from Shobir Kapil. What's happening, mate? He says, Newcastle's inability to sign a replacement has created a mess. Now, Newcastle United are in a situation where that big fees, but also want to keep Isac. Yeah, their inability to bring in a replacement is the reason that they've still got Isac. They tried to get a player in to replace Isac. The reason that they were desperate for Sesko was to replace Isac. If they had signed Sesko, if Sesko had chosen Newcastle United over Manchester United, Alexander Isak would already be a Liverpool player. But Sesko said no. They tried to make him go to Newcastle and he said no. And he went to Man United. Suddenly they go, Isak's got to stay. Isak's like, wait, I'm not playing for you anymore. This is your fault. You're meant to sign Sesko. You're meant to sign Liam Delap. You're meant to sign Mbermo. You're meant to sign Ekatike. You're meant to be signing players to replace me. You failed in doing so. Therefore, I'm still going. I'm not going to play for you when you're the reason that I'm stuck here. I'm not going to play for you when you have failed time and time again to bring in somebody more significant to play in my position. You've let Callum Wilson leave, you Burks. Now what? Now I'm not playing for you. So now what? I don't think he's done anything. I really don't. This is what it is. But I completely agree with you, Showbit. Jason DePlessis says, let's be honest, Isac just witnessed Liverpool win the league. He knows the quality and where he can fit in. Of course, Isac wants to go to Liverpool. Mate, Jason, it's not even a debate. Of course he wants to go to Liverpool. He has to go to Liverpool. It would be mental for him to not want to go to Liverpool. Drew Markham says, we always look foolish when the people we trust break that trust. Happens to all of us. Hope he gets his money. Absolutely. And I think it's really harsh. When people go, he shouldn't have signed. He shouldn't have signed it. And you're like, yeah, I know, but he had a gentleman's agreement. And I know it sounds dumb now. But at the time, it wouldn't have been dumb. I mean, I think that Drew Markham in the chat says it best. We all look foolish when the people we trust break that trust. Shani Russell says, I plead the fifth, sir. I plead the fifth. Lewis Merritt says, Rory, does Salah get into the PFA all-time team? Yeah, I think he does. I just think the consistency of Salah is ludicrous. I just think it's actually mind-bogglingly brilliant. I think he is one of the most guaranteed goal scorers that I have ever seen. And when you think about the power of him, when you think about how brilliant he was when he first landed in the league, and you think about the player that he was last year, like I didn't think he could get better than maybe the 2020 season, something like that. And then you look at the season that he had last year. You look at the player that he became last year. He became the conductor. He became the conductor, the tempo. He became the personality. He became the statesman of the team. And I didn't think that he had that. I didn't think he had that natural evolution in his game. But he does. And yes, Lewis Merritt, therefore I believe he does. Axel says, Axley says, I've seen Newcastle fans compare the Isak situation to Trent, even though Isak was transparent from the start and didn't purposely run down his contract while acting like he wanted to stay. No. Do not tolerate this nonsense. Do not allow anybody to try and position the Trent Alexander-Arnold situation alongside the Alexander Isak situation. You are comparing chalk with cheese. You are comparing apples with oranges. They are not the same situation whatsoever. Alexander Isak is not... Can I just tell you why Alexander Isak... I'll do it the other way around. Let me tell you why Trent Alexander-Arnold is a Judas. He's a Judas because he left the team that were top of the league. So he didn't need to go to fulfill his potential. Alexander Isak needs to fulfill his potential. Trent Alexander-Arnold can fulfill his potential at Liverpool. He is a champion at Liverpool. He has won a European Cup at Liverpool. He doesn't need to go elsewhere to fulfill his desire to win silverware. He doesn't need to go anywhere else to quench his thirst to win silverware. He is perfectly capable of winning silverware at Liverpool. He also has left the team that just won the league. The best team in this country, he left them to join the second best team in Spain. Equally, he gave up on the opportunity of being Liverpool captain. He's a Scouser who would have been a Liverpool captain. All that nonsense, just a local boy from Liverpool. Rubbish. He would have been Liverpool's record Premier League appearance holder. He would have broken that outrageously impressive Jamie Carragher record. He would have had that. He would have been captain. He would have been an icon. And he, crucially, would have been a one-club man. Trent Alexander-Arnold gave up on being the Ryan Giggs, the Paolo Maldini, the Totti, the one-club man, the true definition of a one-club man. For what? To go and be a forgotten Galactico in Madrid. How any of that is comparable to Isak, I do not know. Isak is not a Geordie. Isak is not a one-club man. Isak will not become Newcastle United's record appearance holder. Not that that will matter to him anyway, because he's not a Geordie. So basically, I don't see the overlap on that one whatsoever. Ibrahim Mustafa says, oh, Mufasa, what's happening, mate? Mufasa says, Isak should have done this. Isak shouldn't have done this so late. It's been going on a month. It's been going on longer than a month. Mate, this has been going on for 6 weeks. This has been going on for 6 weeks. We've also been talking, like, softly about Isak leaving. Like, all through the week, all through the season, we were talking about Isak leaving. All through the season, we were talking about Isak potentially going to Arsenal. So, mate, I don't agree. I don't think he has left it late. I think he's done incredibly well. I really do. Can I ask you all a massive favour? Thank you for tuning in. Will you please click subscribe if you are watching this stream and you've enjoyed it even a little bit? If you're having a good time, because I'm loving it and I'm so grateful for you all for tuning in. Will you please click subscribe? Really helps me out. Would love to welcome you into this community. Please, please, please consider clicking subscribe because I love what we're doing here. Oh, and I'm going to be doing loads of these. So if you'd give it a like as well. I've no idea why people say that, but people say, will you like the stream? And people way more successful than me say it. So it must mean something. Steo in the super chat here says, can you think of a player from the early 2000s that was good but not a star, but you think he would have been great, world-class in today's game? Oh, mate, loads. Loads would shine in today's game. I mean, basically any forward from a bygone era. Like Robbie Fowler scores 60 goals. You know, like Robbie Fowler, all of those strikers, you know, like Andy Cole. I mean, they were great, weren't they? Like, you think, okay, so your example is Damien Duff, who would thrive in the modern game, but didn't necessarily go down as a superstar in a bygone era. Who would thrive in the game today? I mean, Ashley Cole. If you think about imagine Ashley Cole in the setups today. Imagine what he would be like. He would be truly, truly brilliant. From the early 2000s, who else was excellent in the early Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank would probably be the best striker in the league at the moment. Seriously. Ida Johnson. Imagine Ida Johnson in that, playing that way. Playing in that, you know, that pocket that he likes to play in. Do you know who else would do really well today? I mean, he did really well then, but do you know who else would shine today? Dwight York. Dwight York, Teddy Sheringham, Ida Johnson. You know those players, those strikers that sort of played that striking role in a slightly different way. I think there's a world where they could really, really shine. But look, I do think that this is a huge, huge moment because we now know that Alexander Isak will be leaving. He will be leaving Newcastle United. I think that he wants to go. He has made it clear that he wants to go, and in that statement, he has conducted himself with utter decorum, utter professionalism. He is conducting himself in a truly, truly chivalrous way. He says, I am proud to be recognised by my fellow professionals with a place in the PFA Premier League Team of the Season for 24-25. First and foremost, I want to thank my teammates and everyone at Newcastle United who has supported me along the way. That is big. He has come out and he has said thank you to Newcastle United. But now this is where it gets serious. He says, I'm not at the ceremony today. With everything that's going on, it didn't feel right for me to be there. I've kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken. That silence has allowed them to push their own versions of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors. The reality is that promises were made, and the club has known my position for a long time. To now act as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. Mate, it's striking, isn't it? It really is striking. When promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship cannot continue. That's where things are for me right now, and why change is in the best interest of everyone. Oh, that's violent. Not just myself. Signed off, Alexander Isak. A huge, huge night. We now know that Alexander Isak is gone. It is over. He will not play for Newcastle United again, and he will become a Liverpool player. You can't blame him. We've gone through the ins and outs of it on this stream, and I've loved every minute of it. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. I've really, really loved your company. Going to be doing loads of these, so please, before you go, click subscribe and put the bell on and that, because I will be going live all the time, and I'd love for you to be here. Just before you go, will you please give a like to this stream? It really does help me out. I have no idea why, but it really does. And the final super chat to just read out before we go is from Jake Pegram, who says, do you think Newcastle will ice Wallow? I don't know what that means. Oh, GGMU says, Salah and Ronaldo wing pairing in an all-time 11. In a Premier League all-time 11, I think it's crazy to leave out Ryan Giggs. The geezer won 13 leagues. But that's just me. We'll have to debate that another day, GGMU. Thank you for your time. Thank you to everyone for joining me. Like I say, give it a like, click subscribe. Alexander Isak, man. Unreal. Ta-da!